Hello and welcome to this session, which will be about hosting identity in the cloud with OW2 free softwares. First, some words about me. So my name is LemonLDAP and I'm Identity Solution Manager by Vortex. I work a lot on free software. You may know some of them. Most are about identity management and most of them are hosted by OW2. So LemonLDAP, which is a single sign-up product, LDAP Tool Box, LSC, Fusion EAM, which will be the software which will be presented today, and W Suite, which is a collaborative suite for mail, agenda, chat, etc. I'm also doing some stuff in my personal life, so I just put here a cover of my first music album. If you want to hear it, you can go to Captain on my website. Now we will talk about IAM. What is IAM? IAM means Identity and Access Management. Identity management is all that covers how to manage the user identity in the information system. So you first have to manage the account, its creation and deletion. It's what we call the lifecycle management. And also how you will be able to copy and forward this identity into information system. We can also put in identity management how the user itself will manage its data. It includes its password, of course. We also talk about identity reconciliation, which means how we gather data from different data warehouse, and we know that all this data belongs to the same user. Another point is access management. So access management is quite different. With access management, we try to give permission to users, to give them rights to access to application, to stacks of the information system. The last point is very important, is the audit. So we need to know what the user has done inside the application. Small focus about identity lifecycle. You see that it's just the journey between the account creation and the account deletion. The account deletion is very important in identity management because we need to know what to do when a user leaves the organization. So identity management tries to offer tools to properly delete an account and advertise all softwares that this user is no longer being part of the organization. What about the IAM market? As you can see on a lot of studies, most of IAM market is taken by big closed source editors, mostly American companies. We have really few European companies in this quadrant. You can see that we have Atos and Evidian, but these are still closed source editors. These softwares from these editors are very complex. They cover a very wide spectrum of features, but they are very complex. And of course, they are closed source, and you must pay to use them. What about open source in identity and access management? Of course, there are a lot of open source products that covers some part of identity management or some part of access management. But there are no really full open source product that covers the full spectrum of identity and access management. Each of these products are maintained by different companies. Many of them don't integrate each other's. Of course, we have standard protocols, but it's maybe not enough to have a full united stack. With Fusion EAM, we decided to join some softwares and to have only free software and open source software, but software that are backed by companies. And this Fusion IAM software is also in OW2. So we can see here that we join together a lot of open source projects, and a lot of them are already inside OW2. Only OpenLDAP, which is a famous LDAP directory server, is not hosted by OW2, but all of this software are part of OW2. To present them quickly, LSC is a connector. You can synchronize your data from, for example, Active Directory to OpenLDAP. LDAP Tool Box is a lot of products like OpenLDAP package or web interface to change password, like self-service password. Fusion Directory is a web interface to manage the data that are in the LDAP directory, and LemonLDAP NG is the single sign-on software. It's the access management stack of Fusion IAM. What are the main features of all this software together? We have in Fusion IAM authentication portal, application menu, we have second factor authentication, white pages, which is a small application to display all the data from the directory to end users, service desk, which is a small software to help the support to unlock accounts of users. We have user group management, we have CAS, SAML and OpenID Connect protocols, and of course some web services. Now we will talk about the cloud, because Fusion IAM is a software. It's a union of several softwares that can be installed on your own servers, but we are working to have them in the cloud. A first word you may already have heard is IDaaS. It means Identity as a Service. It's the software as a service, but dedicated to identity management and access management. So why choosing the cloud? Some benefits are, if you opt for a cloud solution, you don't need to do any installation, or you don't need any server. All the software will be hosted by another company, and you will have some availability and scalability. You don't have to buy your own servers to increase the performance of the identity application. But of course, we have some drawbacks, like the fact that the data is hosted by another company, and that the integration with your internal information system is of course more difficult, because you will not host your identity and access management server inside your information system. Reversibility is not always easy. It means if you want to leave your identity as a service hoster, you need to get back your identity data. A word about isolation and multi-tenancy. We choose with Fusion IAM to have isolation model. It means we will instantiate each software for each company, instead of having only a big server with one software, but used by several companies. In our infrastructure stack, we will build our images. We will build containers with Podman or Docker, and we will use Ansible to deploy all the components in these images. We run this container with Podman or OpenShift, and we have some images registry. The default one is on OW2, and we also use a CentOS operation system. The containers are very useful because we will be able to run each container for each customers, so we can host the identity for many customers on the same infrastructure stack. Running containers can be a little weird when you do it for the first time, because you need to know that a container will lose all the local data if you restart the container. So you need to take care of some things when you run your software in containers. Of course, the goal of containers is also to be able to have scalability, so you need to think that your containers can be run several times to be able to add some performance. In Fusion IAM, we choose a data model and we choose to split the data between the hoster, which will be the administrator, and the customer. So we will have a branch of the directory dedicated to the customer and a branch of the directory dedicated to all administrative stuff. How to go? The first thing is to prepare your configuration. So we choose to have an environment file. For that, we will define all our parameters in this file. And after we will run the image, you see that we mount the environment file in the container, and then we run the container. So here is an example on how to run the OpenLDAP container, which is a specific image hosted on the OW2 GitLab registry. And we will also provide some systemd services to easily run these images. And what you need to do to go from the proof of concept to production. For the proof of concept, you can use the generic images from OW2 and from the Fusion IAM community project. You want to run your identity service for your customers. You need to build or derive images to put into images your specific content, and you need to have your dedicated registry. This is a choice we have done with Vortex. We use OpenShift and Kubernetes to run the images. Here are some links if you want to know more about Fusion IAM, and you can access the source code and of course ask some questions in the mailing list. Of course, I'll be happy to answer some questions. Goodbye.